Hello, I'm Dr. Terry James Gingrass, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat, a show trying to make the world safe for ADHDers. I'm a clinical neuropsychologist, and I'm also the father of two ADHD kids. And surprise, surprise, I'm married to a very nice lady with ADHD. So I've been surrounded by this stuff for the better part of my life. And one of the things I think it's hard to get a real feel for what all these, you read the articles and they ADHDers or they act like this and they do this and all this other stuff. But it's a lot more individual than that. I mean, ADHD, there's a wide range. You've got the ones that are so hyperactive they can't sit still and their emotions are totally out of control. And then you've got, on the other hand, you've got some that are just kind of trying to blend in and not make too much fuss and kind of blend into the corner, but they aren't paying attention to what's going on at all, which, I mean, and there's also, in addition to what's it really like with ADHD people, it's also that it's always about the negative stuff, and then you spend, you know, 300 pages reading about all the negative things about ADHD, and then you read, page and a half about the strengths of ADHD, and it's ADHD would probably not be much of a problem if we were organized a little differently. Basically, if school wasn't organized in such well, shall we say, at least last century, if not before that, mode. Uh, and I am not for a minute hitting at teachers because they are the most dedicated profession we have. I mean, what other profession can you have people with master's degrees who are willing to work for $40,000 a year? Come on, that just doesn't happen anywhere in any other field, which always bothers me because, cops, firemen, teachers, nurses, those are all people we absolutely have to stay alive and keep functioning. And those are among the worst paid of all the people in the world. Shoot, if you can bat 280, uh, you can make $4 or $5 million a year playing baseball. I mean, and if you can play a guitar halfway decently, you can make it. It's the focus is all wrong. But anyway, so I'm not against teachers at all. I love what they do, and I know they do it with taking a lot of grief from a lot of us. They're the the people who tend to supervise school systems usually aren't too worried about what the energy level and what the confidence level is of their employees. They just, we do this, we got to get this many graduates, we've got to, they've got to get this high score on SATs or whatever, and whatever it is, make it happen. So anyway, but that's the negative, okay? And then again, there are a lot of positive things about ADHDers. And there are a lot of things that I really enjoy about being around ADHDers. One of the things I find is rarely mentioned, but one of the things that just really appeals to me is that ADHDers as a whole have great senses of humor. They really do. And they're quick-witted. They're pretty quick at almost everything. That may be part of the issue, but they respond rapidly. They They look at a situation, they read the situation, they can tell what's going on, they can tell who's in, who's out, who's not, who's not feeling well, all that sort of thing. And they they can do that almost instantly. You know, you throw them in with a group of people and they, oh, wait a minute, I got to stay away from him. She's going to be all right. He's going to be okay. But they read people very rapidly. And that it's part and parcel of probably what makes them good problem solvers because they can see a situation and see the whole global aspect of the situation. They're not just looking at, oh, he's got anger issues or something. You know, they're seeing the whole picture and how the boss works and how the other employees work, if it's a work environment, or how the family works or doesn't work. You know, and it's I guess it's a gift. I mean, you know, you being able to see and diagnose and think globally, see the big picture, if you will, very rapidly. That's what makes them good problem solvers, which is another thing, is they solve problems, and usually they solve the complicated ones. They're really good at seeing who's doing what to who and all that sort of thing. It's a very unusual, I think, gift. You know, people like this are frequently they're doing jobs where their problem solving abilities are valued, that they've solved problems that nobody else can solve, and they do it fast and they do it efficiently. And so they're, you know, that's a value for a company. And said, you know, so in my household, I have all these very active, very energetic people who are tuned in to lots of things, lots and lots of information flow. Okay. Very curious people. ADHDers tend to be really curious and they tend to not necessarily be curious about what's on the curriculum in school, but they are very curious about other things. Uh, my son is big on watching all kinds of documentaries and that sort of thing, and he's really interested in different kinds of animal health and the environment, uh, all that sort of thing, but also just odd little facts about philosophy and religion. It's sometimes kind of breathtaking to try to keep up with him. And my wife is the exact same way. I mean, she's got so much detailed information about a whole lot of things. And when she and my son get going, it's wow, you know. And then in Brazil they do it this way, and then over here, Argentina they do it differently for some reason. And it's like, you know, and I'm kind of, oh, really? Because I'm really good at paying attention to what I'm supposed to be paying attention to, but I'm not always, you know, just love all that information being around. They do, they do, and all, you know, 2 out of my 3 kids have that, and those are the ones that have ADHD. So I'm going to posit that that's a characteristic of ADHD. Uh, they're very curious. They have a I they don't see themselves as being the center of everything. They're more outwardly focused, you know, and what's going on over there? What's going on over there? And the other thing is that they're very empathetic. You know, they tend to be concerned about how everybody else is feeling. Um, my son has been with us for a little while now, and he is always, you know, well, like today, he made a whole bunch of uh, a stew kind of thing, and he took it to some uh, retired Army guys with PTSD, and well, I didn't even know he knew anybody with PTSD, but he's yeah. So, and he just wanted to do something that would help him out, and um, well, and then there was not a cash and carry kind of thing. It was he did it because he wanted to, and uh, they were appreciative, and that's a that's a positive trait as far as I'm concerned. Um, the empathy is we're losing that around. We're all of us always in our computers or our iPad or our iPhone or some of us use something else besides Apple, but yeah, I mean, we're all into that, and people are always complaining. You see articles all over the place about people, how distant everybody is, and how nobody pays attention to anybody else anymore, and uh, the that's not the way my experience with my ADHD crew. And they tend to be really concerned about other people and how they're feeling and trying to do something to make them feel better. And they mostly, they always talk about ADHDers have emotional regulation problems. And I would hypothesize that most of them don't have a huge problem with emotional regulation, but that there are some who have difficulties controlling anger when they really get ripped up. I know that's the case at our house. If they, really are upset about something, that can get going pretty hard. But they don't look for that all the time. It's so emotional regulation is I think tempered by their concern for others, for their empathy and that sort of thing. And I'm not going to say that they're uh, all what do I want to say, but they're all merciful and all forgiving and that sort of thing. But in general, they tend to hold grudges and that sort of thing a lot less than uh, my other relatives, shall we say, who are really good at nursing a grudge. Um, and like I said before, they see the environment, they see the whole picture, and that makes them. Well, it's part of why they can solve problems. My house, they tend to be visual spatial people. I think that's probably a slight tendency. The folks who, I mean, if you think of, we all have one primary representational system that we use to present the world to ourselves. For some people, it's all words. For some people, it's all visual stimuli. For some people, it's more kinesthetic things. Um, is their primary representational system. You know, they're like the ones who think mostly in words are the ones that always are going, I think. The ones that are more kinesthetic are always, I feel. And of course, I see is for the visual ones. But that's also a way you look at the world. And that's my, I can't say that all ADHDers are visual, but that's certainly the way mine are. And my brother, who's probably ADHD, he's a metal sculptor. He's always talking, and he's always talking real abstractly and and about the thinking about the greater good and all that sort of stuff. But you, excuse me, you always have to have the idea with them is that they're probably highly right hemisphere, which is where the visual spatial part of the brain is. And that's why a lot of them tend to be musicians and athletes and actors and athletes. And that's one of the things that uh, will, that's why they can read a room so well, because they're always more on the visual side than they are on the thinking, reasoning sort of thing. Not that they can't do thinking, reasoning, that sort of thing. And matter of fact, there are a lot of people with ADHD who are doctors and lawyers and uh, so on, and, and a lot of psychologists, come to think of it. Uh, but the biggie is that your primary representational system, if it's visual spatial, that means you're always converting what you're aware of into the words that you need to have to contain it in your memory stores. So, and that also may explain why they're a little more emotional than non ADHDers, and they may explain uh, why they're more empathic, because they see it. They see it, and then from seeing it, they go to feeling it, and then from that, they go to needing to take some action to do something that makes somebody feel good. So, and of course, we can't talk about the strengths of ADHD without talking about hyperfocus. Now, hyperfocus is I don't think that's been around for more than about 10 years, but it is a true, real thing. And you see, and maybe it's been longer than 10, but that doesn't really matter. But the idea that they can, once, if they're in the zone, if they're working on something that they like working on, and they uh, are moving for, they will stay focused on that, and to the extent that they'll ignore anything going on around them. And you know, my brother, when he is working on a project, and he does these gigantic metal things that you see on rich people's estates and shopping malls, and the big water feature metal sculptures that have water dripping down and the leaves are moving up and down and all this other stuff. And he's done several of those. But when he gets focused on that stuff, man, he is going to town. Same with my young man when he's working on a jewelry project. Uh, he just goes for hours without, and it's pretty demanding work, with a lot of defined detail stuff, which I always joke that I am not ADHD. I am just impatient. And I don't like fine detail work that I got to do for hours, but I'll read a book for days. So that's kind of, that I hope that gives you a little bit more of a flavor for um, what ADHD looks like if for some reason you're not familiar with it. And also it's important as a parent or a family member of a person with ADHD, or as an ADHDer yourself. It is helpful for both yourself as the ADHDer and your child, who probably has ADHD as well, that you get in the habit of looking for the good stuff, for those things, those strengths, those uh, strengths that they have that they can, um, well, they can use to make the world a better place, but they can also use it to make themselves better and make, make them have a happier life, and also have the good fortune to be working at something they actually enjoy doing, whereas uh, a lot of the rest of us can be threatened, I guess would be the word, to do a job we hate because it makes good money or something like that. So you need to be able to identify these. You need to work with those because those are the things that are going to make a better adjustment for your child. You get the strengths, you identify the strengths, the particular areas of interest. It's on you all the time to be able to do that. And if the school system isn't providing that kind of stimulation, you've got to figure out a way to do it yourself. Um, Lessons, music lessons, who knows what, art lessons, uh, coaching, that sort of thing. It's really important that you are aware of the strengths and understand that they're not going to show up exactly the same way for everybody, and not everybody's going to have the same ones. And like even hyperfocus, everybody, oh, that's the superpower. Well, some people can just turn that on, and other people can't always find it. It's elusive to them, and so they're always waiting for it to start, and sometimes it just doesn't. But for other people, it's no big deal. The minute I'm doing this, I am really focused in. So, any questions about anything, please get in touch with me. It's, well, it's important for me, that I get some feedback from y'all. It's important for uh, you guys that I kind of know what you would like to see me doing. What would you like to know more about? That sort of thing. This is a fast growing research area. There's a ton of research now, and there didn't used to be. Well, 1980, we didn't even have ADHD. There was no such thing. So, okay. I'm Dr. Terry James Gingras. This is Dr. G's ADHD chat. And I'm available. I have a website, terrygingrassphd.com. You can sign up for my newsletter. You can sign up for a intake interview or for coaching. I do a lot of coaching with ADHD people, a lot of executives with ADHD, and we'll do like a 20 or 30-minute intake kind of thing. You can call it whatever you want, but it's just getting to know you and what your problems are and what we can or can't do to help you. Okay, catch you next time. And in the meantime, remember, let's keep the world safe, or let's make it safer for ADHDers.